Hello everyone, welcome to the stream. We're live on TikTok and YouTube. All right. Happening. All right. Yeah, let's get into some pre-market analysis here. We had CPI earlier at 8:30, and it's currently Thursday, so we've got 1 day left of the week tomorrow, and then that's it. Then no more trading until January 2nd. Okay, so we had this daily range that we were kind of targeting yesterday. The EQ, we've actually just tapped the EQ to the tick, and now we're getting quite a big reaction off it. So I can only assume that that's what price wanted here the past couple of days where we've been bearish, where we've had the bullish bias. Yeah, I mean, now this range is balanced. I mean, we should be good for longs, to be honest. Okay, so 4 hour. We have this daily gap as well that we've reacted off. So what we've done is we've swept the low inside of the daily gap right here. So this should now be a protected low. I don't see why we should come back down here. We've already rebalanced EQ, so we should be bullish now. I'm sorry, let me just make sure I've got the live studio open. There we are. Yeah, so we should be bullish now. We do have a 4 hour gap here. Could just leave this as a breakaway gap for now, though. And obviously we have this this large 4 hour imbalance here as well, which I think is going to be likely to get inverted. I think we've already powered through EQ of this range here. Yeah, we have. I'll keep the range there just in case, you know, we do want to head back down. Actually, it might be bad if I do this one since we are bullish. Okay. And then we have buy side here. This is our main draw here for a little while. I don't know how we're gonna deal with that, you know, over the coming days leading up to Christmas, but it's a good draw on liquidity. All right. So let's check the H1 range. We are not balanced. Minute. So, you know, a retracement is due. Check the 15-minute as well in a sec. I mean, we just have this big liquidity void here, really. Huge H4 imbalance. We'll have to watch the 10 a.m. candle to see how we close on there. Let me just minimize OBS quickly. Yeah. Okay. This looks like the CPI candle. Apologize if you can hear my son in the background. Okay, so yeah, I mean, Newswick is a data low. It's not very obvious though. Price isn't balanced below here. There's no, price is just not balanced. So it's gonna have to be here. Do we have an SMT? No SMT either. Okay, so yeah, I mean, I'm bullish today. There's no doubt about it. We could come back down, maybe rebalance this area. This range isn't balanced, so then there's an unfilled imbalance here as well. But yeah, we did tap EQ with the daily range right here, literally to the tick. So yeah, daily range is balanced. So that was kind of the last thing in the way of heading towards our, stacked buy side draw here. Unfilled daily gap with a lot of buy side, a lot of highs. So, I just don't know how much it's going to go today, tomorrow, leading up to Christmas, especially. Yeah, we might be able to get a long entry here. We'll see. We'll see. Any sell side, sorry, buy side here in the there's a little bit of minor buy side here. Welcome to the live. All right, so two newcomers in the live. My bias is bullish today. We have just rebalanced the entire daily range. You see this EQ line right here. We just balanced it to this low, literally a tick. So it's perfect. It's kind of what I was expecting, considering the sell-off pre-market and market open yesterday. There was this daily gap here. We did inverse it, which I'm not a massive fan of. But obviously, we've just got a nice bullish reaction here off the EQ, which was my next bearish draw. And then obviously we have a lot of stacked highs, big unfilled daily gap above. So we have got a large H4 bearish imbalance right here. Obviously, right now we're trading above it. We've got 40 minutes-ish until the 4-hour candle closes. So we'll soon find out if this closes above and we get a H4 inversion or not. I'm not going to worry about this too much now, considering I am just bullish, really. Obviously, we have some minor buy side here with the H4 gap. Potential roadblock. Some nice buy side liquidity here. And obviously, our ultimate draw is these stacked highs with the daily gap. Obviously, we're not going to hit that today, most likely. I don't know how that's going to, bear going up to Christmas, and Christmas price action. We have 2 days left in the week, obviously today and tomorrow. So maybe this leaves it for next year. I don't know. Next year isn't that far away, but we'll see. We'll see. So what I'm looking for currently, preferably a pullback, to be honest. I hope that we don't just charge ahead and just keep running without an entry. A nice pullback here, maybe tap this EQ. There's a unfilled gap in discount here on the H4 as well as the H1 as well, right here. And then obviously there's a couple on the M15, etc. These have all been tapped on the M15, so yeah. Welcome viewers in the TikTok. Welcome. We've got 10 minutes here until market open. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to go on the 1 minute and just see how we are, see what price is looking like. Okay, do we have any SMT in the lower time frame? This low? No SMT there. Is there? Oh no, there's not. There's no SMT. Okay. We don't have any more SMT at the lows. Yeah, we could definitely come back down here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to mark out this 15-minute gap here. Quite large. It's likely to get tapped into. So I know we still have a couple of minutes to market open here, but my dream scenario, kind of, what I want to play out here. So if we pull back here at market open, we get some manipulation down, tap into the M15. It would be adequate, I guess, maybe for a low risk long if it's a good setup. Preferably, I'd like to see, this EQ tapped, maybe this lower, this count PD array for our fair value gap here tapped into as well. But we do have obviously the 4-hour candle closure at 10. So we'll soon find out whether this wants to close inside of the gap or close above it and gives an inversion. But yeah, that's kind of it. We've just got to wait now until market open. If anyone has any questions or anything, feel free to drop them in the chat. I've got the chat here on my second monitor, so I'll try my best to answer you as best as possible. Okay, so I'm basically just going to stick around here for 8 minutes, wait for market open. We did expand at 8:30, so I'm hoping that this is, expansion, not manipulation. Yeah, and then maybe we get the manipulation come 9:30, and a little bit lower. With a move like this, you can't really expect the whole thing to get completely swept out. So I've got low expectations for it coming back down here, but if it does, it'll be it'll be what we want. So need to get some music or something. The issue is I stream on YouTube as well, so if I'm like playing music in the speakers, I'll get copyright striked or something like that. I know there's some like unlicensed music you can use, just non-copyright stuff, but I don't really know how good it is. I'll have to do a no copyright listening party at some point. Get on to the 1 minute. Tell you what, while we wait for market open, let's go on the 1 second time frame to feed the dopamine while we wait. There you are. Enjoy. A 1 second inversion for value gap here. Very nice. And imagine if people actually traded this. The amount of volume imbalances. What is even going on right now? Oh, we're reacting off a gap. Okay. And no more context. Let's see how the price reacts off this M1 gap in the 1 second time frame. Okay. Use rebalanced EQ of the 1 second range. Oh. Expansion. 1 second inversion fair value gap right here. Damn, the 1 second time frame is crazy. You just sweep a high? We swept a high. Scalpers are shivering in their boots right now. On here watching the 1 second time frame. That's crazy. Okay. That's enough for the 1 second time frame. I apologize if you were enjoying that. It looks like we might just keep like rising a little bit here until market open. I'm not going to keep adjusting the fib. Like I say, any questions or anything, feel free to drop them in the comments. For 4 minutes here. Appreciate the likes on the TikTok, by the way. Someone's been tapping away. Appreciate that. Thank you. I've disabled something. We're done. There we are. Again, what is happening? We're good. Obviously, this is a big 4 hour here as well as this big 15-minute. Now, like I say, potential roadblock for going higher, but we might get a reaction. If we carry on higher here, we might get a reaction off it. To give us a little retracement, which I wouldn't mind that. Yeah, I'll kind of draw out like what I'm hoping for here. So maybe this, maybe this, maybe this. Okay. Maybe this. Either way, I'm looking for longs there. Thank you, Bud, to inverse the 30-minute bearish FVG. Yeah, you're right. You're right. I don't tend to use the 30-minute too much. But yes, yeah, it's definitely nice to know. You've got the next the market open is going to be the closure of this candle. The 1 hour is at 10 as well as the 4 hour, so we'll have to wait on those. Obviously, you know that you always have to wait for the highest time frame inversion if you were going to take that like raw. I know that sounds weird, but if you were going to just enter on that same time frame, so for example, if you got a 30-minute here, you'd want to wait for a confirmation setup, like a pullback and then a lower time frame entry. And if you enter on the 30-minute, you're gonna have a huge stop loss, and then you also have the 1 hour and the 4 hour that haven't closed yet. But it's the same for the lower time frames. If you're, say for example, there was a 1 minute here and then there was a 2 minute just above, you'd have to wait for the 2 minute to close. Or we could just be reacting off the 2 minute, and then you get stopped out. So we've got 20 seconds here until market open. Get comfy. What do we think? Do we think something drastic is going to happen, or slow rise or fall? Okay, well there's market open. Maybe we do get our manipulation downwards. Or not. Usually when we have news at 8:30, and we'll get a nice wick. That's a good target. Data highs and data lows, specifically the wicks, tend to be a really good draw on liquidity. Obviously, there's no obvious wick here. It's kind of just engulfed in this candle. So, no data low to target here. Zoom out a little bit. Okay, so I'm thinking we might get a reaction off this minor buy side in the H4 gap. Potentially give us a long entry. Nothing so far. We are leaving inefficiencies here. No H1 imbalance. Yeah, Fred. Typically I'll only trade NQ. Sometimes I'll switch to ES, but it's rare. I'll only really switch to ES if we have an SMT and NQ, like a bullish SMT, but NQ is weaker or something along those lines, or we have the exact scenario for an A plus setup, like every single criteria is met, but we just don't get the clean singular IFVG, but then we get the exact same scenario on ES at the same time, but with the entry. Those are the only times where I already switched to ES. I find ES is quite, it's more slow and it's not as, I don't know what the word is. I just prefer NQ. I just prefer NQ's price action typically. It's smoother, I guess is the right word. I sold it 4334. Reckon it'll go down. We could take a look. What did you short? Wait, 433. What are you on about gold? Because ES is not, 6,800. Oh yeah. By the way, this isn't a valid short setup here. I'm disregarding this IFVG on purpose because I'm bullish. We've not swept any liquidity or anything. 433. What did you say? Was that a short position or a take profit? I can't really comment on gold. I've not done any analysis. I've not looked at the gold charts for a while. Gold's gonna just consolidate on higher time frame. It's currently reacting off the new day opening gap. You do have a big bullish engulfing candle, bullish hourly inversion. A lot of stacked lows there. I can't really tell you, man. Unfortunately, without doing like some proper analysis, I can't give you a proper answer there. So if this, by the way, if this wick here swept this minor buy side and tapped into this 4-hour gap, this would be a great short. Obviously, we're hoping that it comes down to rebalance EQ here. So, that could be your full TP, basically. And obviously, you would want to TP1 at this low, etc. But since we didn't sweep this minor buy side or tap into this H4 FVG above, this isn't a valid sell setup. I mean, this would have been your break even. You would have at least been a break even trade. So. Okay, so we might actually get that retracement here. Like I say, if we take out this low here, tap into this 15-minute, it would be valid, but not preferable. This discount range here with this large H4 gap, this is preferable. If we come into this range, it's exactly what I want to see. But if we do get something valid and clean from this level here, then we could take it because we are very bullish today. So. Afternoon, MCAM. Thanks for joining the stream. Good to see you in here again. TikTok thing keeps glitching out, like this studio thing. So key manipulation times, or key times as to when something usually happens: 8:30, 9:30, and 10 a.m. The 10 a.m. usually gives a nice reversal if we get like a Judas swing, for example, at 9:30. 8:30 can be used when there's like clear manipulation or expansion. You can then, pair that with what you can expect the 9:30 opening price to do. So, for example, 8:30 manipulates, 9:30 expands. If you have a weird situation like 8:30 expanding towards your draw, and then 9:30 sort of doing this, we've kind of expanded a little bit more at 9:30 open, and now we're kind of trickling back down. This is the kind of situation where you can expect a 10 a.m. reversal. So if we just spend the next 23 minutes slowly coming down, you can expect 10 a.m. to then, give us what we want. If it doesn't, then you can wait for longer, but those are just key times. Now, I'm just going to go for a slash. I'll be back in a sec. You guys can enjoy the 15-second chart. No apologies. Okay, so we're currently diving into this 15-minute here. So hypothetically, if we got, so we have a 1 minute here. So it doesn't look like it's going to happen, but if we got a big wick here and then like a clean, closure above this, this would be something that I'd take. Now you've got a solid break-even point here. The first TP would probably be the high, and then you could target higher for a runner. Just hypothetically speaking. We did get the wick though. Just didn't want to come back up and tap into this gap. And let me just log into my brokerage real quick. There is currently an SMT, so this is still a valid long if we do get the closure here. Like I say, we had the wick. Just need to close above it now. What time frame do you look on bias? So to find my bias, what I'll do is I'll usually just do a top down from the daily, the 4 hour, sometimes the 1 hour, but I don't treat the 1 hour too seriously. I prefer the 4 hour and the 15. Yeah, I'll just typically look at order flow, look at confluences, see if we've retraced a discount on the higher time frame range. If we're reacting off of anything like a daily gap, or if there's a daily gap above that's unfilled, usually a good buyer. Same with the 4 hour. In this case, I'm bullish just because we've tapped into this EQ of the range, but there's a couple of things. So obviously we have inversed this daily gap. I don't know, it could be a bullish signal sorry, a bearish signal, but I was waiting for this to hit EQ. So, and obviously we had a nice reaction off of it, so which means that this level is sensitive. So that was kind of fueling my bullish bias here. We have a large H4 gap in the opposite direction, but it looked like we were going to close above. You know, I'm still bullish for now. You know, I still want to see a reaction off this discount here for longs. That's not changed. But yeah, I mean, that's basically how I find my daily bias. And it might be a 10 o'clock sort of job here. 9:43 at the minute, so 17 minutes until 10 a.m. It just depends how we react here. It doesn't look like this is very sensitive to me. You know, we had 2 wicks and then we decided to dig into it a little bit more. So this 30-second here isn't really something I'd take. A bit too small. But if we do come back up and close above this one, I'd still take it. This is where you can kind of like weigh up the time frames, because obviously we have just inversed this 1 minute here. Obviously there's a 2 minute here that's just been inversed. A 3 minute closed inside of, so there's no inversion on the 3 or the 5. The higher time frames obviously hold more weight. From sell side here, the big gap in the lower quadrant of the 15 minute. And also sort of at the bottom of that is the EQ. Did ES tap that minor buy side? No, it didn't. So there's no bearish SMT. You see now, this is the kind of thing that kind of puts me off, because obviously we have this 1 minute gap here. If we'd have closed above this immediately, it would have been bad, you know, extremely valid, right? But now you have higher time frame gaps in the same area that hold more weight than the 1 minute. So you wouldn't just be able to take the 1 minute, because, you know, the 5 minute, for example, holds more weight, right? And there's a big 5 minute here. So you now need to wait for the 5 minute to close. And then once the 5 minutes closed, you'd have to then wait for a 1 minute confirmation, or a 30-second, or maybe a 2 minute. But you take the 5 minute, your stop loss is going to be a little bit too big, you know. Confirmation entries are a little bit more, just gives you that little bit extra security, I guess. Or if the chart's a bit too far over. You see, I've got a whole widescreen monitor here. It's like 32 inches, and I've had to cut out a mobile-sized snippet of the screen. So sometimes I accidentally move the chart too far to the sorry, excuse me, too far to the left, to the right. That's why we might tap into this 5 minute here. And you see why I wouldn't have taken this 30-second, by the way, because it would have been a loss. Too small, not reliable enough. Something medium-sized up to large is usually good. This is a great size gap here. If we were trading, you know, if we didn't have to wait for this 5-minute, the kind of size you want to see. It's too small, that's kind of irrelevant, you know. Like this one got closed through like it was nothing. Now, if it wasn't bullish, this would be a nice 30-second short here. Up high inside of a 5-minute gap. And then we got target, you know, we could target lower. EQ 4-hour gap. Obviously we are reacting off a 15 minute, so a bit too risky to take it. You know, especially with that bullish bias, but yeah, if we weren't bullish, this would be clean. So it would be something I'd take. And we could tape read it though. Sure, we can tape read it. Not in this, by the way, just tape reading it. Got some text on there to clarify. And then your break-even point would be here. Okay, so I mean the trade would be a break-even already. I have to wait for one whole candle now to actually move your stop to break-even. If you were conservative, you could go TP1 here. Maybe TP2 EQ, and then you know, if you're feeling ballsy, the 4-hour TP for a final. Okay, so you go break even now. Your stop would be a break even. This is on the 30-second time frame, by the way. You've just swept the high up into a 5-minute gap with a decent target lower. At least this sell side. Nice break even point. Would it have been a break even trade? Can't tell. Yeah, that's definitely a break-even trade. Alright, so I mean that would have been a break-even trade. Fine, it's just a tape read. It's kind of the risk with trying to take a short while you're reacting off a bullish gap. That's why I didn't take it. You know, there's always going to be some resistance there, and the chances are you're going to get stopped out or stopped at break-even, which is what's happened here. There is a 1-minute gap, standalone. This is quite nice. Goes along with our bias. And we can take this and we can go break even here where we're about to hit the higher time frame. The only issue is no EQ yet. I've seen there's sell side here, which hasn't been swept. So it's not ideal, but you know, it would be valid if it was going to close. Nine minutes here until 10 a.m. I'd like to see about now that we start forming some structure, ready for the 10 a.m. reversal, if we are going to get it. 10 a.m. doesn't always reverse, it can continue, it's just a key window. Looks like we might get this 1 minute. If we were to get this, it would be something that I'd take lower risk. Just because, you know, we do have sell side that hasn't been tapped, and EQ hasn't been tapped either, so it's not, you know, perfect. And we also are delivering from a higher time frame gap here, an M5, so yeah, I don't love it, but I guess it's worthy of some a low risk trade. If we close here. Yeah, this is not pristine by any means, but it is valid. So just check there's no 2-minute or anything. Inverse the 30-second. You see now I'm not a fan because we've now already reaching back into this M5. So I'm going to give it a miss for now. This is quite a big candle. If we'd have closed around this range, it would have been okay because we'd have gone break even immediately. But what I am going to do is I am going to be a little bit more cautious here, and I'm going to wait for a confirmation entry. We can keep the thingy there, but I'm going to wait for a confirmation entry here, which is basically just a 5-minute closure, a small pullback, and then we get an entry. Just because we haven't rebalanced EQ yet, that's the only reason. This whole range EQ is valid. We balanced EQ of this range, sure, but the whole range EQ is unbalanced. So obviously you're so close to the break-even point as well. Like the trade is kind of pointless to take if you understand. You gotta give it one candle, so you go break even now, but you close like right here. The chances that you don't get stopped at break even, and then at break even you'd lose slippage, and if you got a bad fill, you'd result in a small loss because you'd have to break even at the entry. Just not worth it, in my opinion, especially because all the confluences weren't stacked. If they were, you could take the risk. But like I said, a closure around here would have been better because the break even would have been further away. But this is extremely close, and obviously it's inside of a 5-minute gap as well. So wrong time frame. Okay, so 5-minute time frame. Let me just remove this because obviously we didn't take that entry. It looks like we're going to get the 5-minute closure. So, I mean, I'll put that there, and we could tape read the 5-minute entry while we look for a lower time frame confirmation. I've messed up the bloody thing. Give me a sec. It's too big. Oh yeah. Right, so now we can look for a lower time frame confirmation. Now we have the 5-minute inversion. So we didn't tap the break-even point, which is a good thing. Hopefully we get a prime example. No. Immediate rebalance there. There is a 15-second, but I don't usually trade the 15-second time frame. It's tempting to add a couple there, just because it is a valid confirmation entry. But I am going to just hold off a sec because we're very unbalanced right now. I do like a 30-second or a 1-minute off the 5-minute closure. I don't really like trading on the 15-second. You can see the 15-second would have been a loss. you would have had to close. 15 seconds is just too unpredictable. The 30 seconds is good for precision entries, as long as there's no like 1 minute, 2 minute, or anything like that in the way. We've got 3 minutes here until 10 a.m. So what I think what I'll do here is I'll just keep this up as just a tape read for the 5-minute entry. I don't trade on the 5-minute. I'm quite specific with my time frames and where I enter and where I don't. Just from testing, really. Seeing what I've had the most success with and whatnot. I guess that would be your actual target. It kind of lines up with the... oh wait, no. I say it lines up with some standard deviations, but it doesn't. This close to Christmas, I really don't mind missing trades. At all. You know, I've got no plan on like taking anything, so I could just tape read stuff and maybe enter low risk if we get something perfect. Well, this late in December, I'm not trying to take anything that's not perfect, really. Just good risk management. Yeah, this is a nice 5-minute entry, I guess. No confirmation entry, which is kind of annoying because it means that we haven't been able to get in. But we still might get one. Still a minute left until 10 a.m, so we'll just keep an eye here. We're currently reacting off of this M1 IFEG, which we had bearish. We just check the other time frames. We invest our 30-minute that you mentioned earlier. Yes, we did. 4 hour is also trading above, and so is the 1 hour. It looks like we are going to get those inversions here in 18 seconds. Unless we get some sort of drastic sell-off. Okay, so it looks like we did get we got the 4 hour and the 1 hour inversions. So yeah, I mean, we should be bullish here, especially with those confirmations. So the 5-minute entry might have been good. I just don't take those, you know. This 30 seconds is too small. It might seem like I'm picky with my criteria, but it really does keep my win rate high and my risk to reward ratio high as well. I mean, some say that it's, you know, impossible to have a good risk to reward ratio and a good win rate. I have both. Just from being super picky on my trades, I'll maybe catch like 3 or 4 a week, but when all of them, maybe I'll take like, for example, you know, 1 to 5 risk to reward ratio trade. I'll take 1 break even, 1 small loss, which was another 1 to 5 risk to reward ratio trade. So I'm up 4 hour on the week, and then I take another one which partially hits TP. You know, that's a conservative week. My win rate is typically above 70%, so that'll be 4 out of every 5 trades taken pretty much. It's quite rare that we do catch a loss, especially in the good months, you know. January, February will be okay. You know, after that, it's you know, easy pickings really. Price action picks up, the quality picks up. But I know that December is historically one of my worst months, so you know, I'm not going to sit here and try and force trades and, you know, especially when we're missing important criteria like hitting EQ here. I know we did rebalance the daily range, and we have the the IFVGs on the higher time frame. So yeah, that's going to be a reason why I would take a confirmation here. We have a lot of stacking bullish confluences. The price is quite slow out of this 5 minute. Not a lot of momentum here. This is quite a big momentum candle, but price is now moving slow. Maybe it's gearing up to give us a confirmation entry. Okay, so we are heading down here. Maybe we will get our confirmation. Where's the 5 minute break even? Okay, see, 5 minute break even would be at the high. Okay, so a little bit of movement heading down here. I do want to see the CQ tapped before we get our confirmation entry here. Or not. Or maybe we will. I don't know. A lot of wicks, a lot of immediately rebalancing price. Which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It might be gearing up for a low resistance liquidity run. So tap it back into this 5 minute inversion. Let me actually rename it. It's not FVG anymore, it's an inversion FVG. Preferably. Mm. There's not a lot of sensitivity here. Um, Kind of just stalling, accumulating. You know, usually when you get a clean setup, you want it to, you know, take off. This may be because we haven't hit AQ yet. It could very well be because we haven't hit AQ yet. We do have a large gap underneath that's completely unfilled in the higher time frame. So what I'm saying, I mean, if price has got less interference on the side opposite to your bias, the cleaner it's going to deliver. If you think about it, it's got less decision making to do. I don't know if that makes sense. I know it doesn't make decisions, but it's kind of the way that I think about it. You know, if it's absolutely one-sided, there's no reason why price should be accumulating like this. So if we didn't have this 4-hour gap, for example, we just tapped EQ, then maybe we got a nice sweep of this low as well. Obviously, a wick out of this 50-minute gap, it would have been perfect, and there would be no reason why price would want to, you know, come lower. So, you know, we wouldn't be descending like this. Like slowly, I mean, but this could be still giving us our entry, our confirmation entry, so we'll just sit tight. Usually with a confirmation entry, price will just quickly, you know, wick out on the higher time frame. And that's then the wick that you can catch with a 30-second inversion or something. You know, if you notice that on the 5-minute, this wick here is an M1 IFVG. That's kind of the you know, the profits here, I guess. So, you know, what you're trying to. I bet you most of the wicks on these on the side, sorry, on the 1 minute here, are like, you know, 30-second, not 30-second, like 10-second inversions or 5-second inversions or something. Let's test that theory. I'm curious. Actually, no, so we might get an entry. I'm not going to start messing about. Okay. 2 minutes until the 5-minute closes. I'd say this would be something that I'd take. We just wigged it, so yeah, if we got a closure here, I would have taken this. It's quite clean. Obviously this isn't clean, but it's a good thing because it's the only gap. It's the only gap in the range. So obviously this 2-minute hasn't closed yet. Or the 3-minute actually. 5. No, the 5-minute hasn't closed yet either. So yeah, no, the 30-second would have been the only gap in the range. Another reason why I don't trade the 5-minute, by the way. If you you know, use stop losses, your hard stop, right? Your hard stop's all the way down here. So obviously you cut the trade if we close below the IFVG, which is why I always measure risk from about here, you know, a little bit below the gap. Because realistically, most of the closures are going to be, you know, just below the gap. They're not going to be tanking down to the stop loss, right? But obviously, the 5-minute break evens are too far away. Like you had to sweep this high, so you're not even at break even yet. You know, you're in drawdown, and you're going to have to cut the trade if we're going to close below this, which it looks like we are. So that's why I always wait for a confirmation, because the confirmation is always so much more like higher probability. And even more so since we did leave EQ and this gap. And I just bounced off this 15-minute, and give us a full setup here. But no, like when you get something so clean, it will just pop into your head, and you'll just be like, that is the cleanest, the cleanest setup I've seen. And you'll just take it, and price action will be so much better after it. And I'm telling you, the quality of the setup, it really does impact how price behaves after it. If you get something that's like an M1 singular clean, reacting off a 15-minute gap in discount with a sweeping equal lows, low resistance liquidity run above, daily bias, a high inside of a 4-hour gap or something, like perfect scenario trade, 9 times out of 10 that's hit. And you've got an insane risk to reward on there as well. So yeah, the setup quality does matter. Something kind of sloppy like this, where you've got 5 minutes in the way of the 1 minute that was closed a bit too close to the break even. This is the kind of thing you could expect afterwards, Don't like having a sniper with only a round left in the chamber. You've got to make it count, right? That's the way that you got to think about it. There's always only one round in your chamber. You never go in with a full mag. If you go in with a full mag, you'll revenge trade, you'll overtrade, and you'll take subpar setups, and then you'll be kicking yourself. But you go in with only one bullet in the chamber, maybe 2 if you take a loss, and you can go in and another pristine setup, just lower risk. If you take a loss, then you're done. You're out of the fight. So yeah, I don't think there's only going to be anything for me here now. We can wait for a little bit longer, see if we get a reaction off the CQ. Maybe we take out the low from CPI. I know it's not very obvious, which is why I never marked it out, but we could still be heading there. The question. This is just December for you, if I'm honest. It's just December PA. We're so close to Christmas. It's just end of the year. You got to think about the yearly PO3, the monthly PO3. There's a lot of manipulation and accumulation and stuff. Not a lot of distribution. When we do get distribution, it all happens bloody pre-market or during London session or something. Something absurd. I know this happened yesterday, but it completely went against our bias, didn't it? I don't think we got an entry, did we? So we tried to go long here after this liquidity sweep. And we hit a conservative TP1, I remember. That this was the long that we took. And then sold off more. But I left the charts after this trade, This was my one and done, I got stopped at break even. I had no more rounds in the chamber. It is what it is. Hey, thanks for the follow. I appreciate that. I'm going to give it a little bit longer here. I don't have too much optimism, considering how sloppy it's being. Sloppy in terms of not delivering from, delivering from IFEGs and balances and stuff. Like we just gave a minor bounce here off the 15-minute, and now we're coming back down to retest it after giving a 5-minute long. This in any ideal world, this would have given a nice confirmation, or it would have just gone straight to TP. But yeah, no, this 5-minute would have been a decent loss if you'd have taken this. Again, I don't trade 5-minute, but yeah, that wouldn't have been good. You would have entered there. 62-point loss. And I'll just show you quickly. So for example, we came down here, and I'll use this 30 second as an example, right? You enter on the 30 second. Obviously, your stops at the low. Hard stop, but you know, realistic stop is going to be about here, maybe around here if we close inside the order block, right? And you keep the exact same target as the 5 minute. You know, you don't change the target. What did we target? 5 minute. This got moved. I swear this was like up here. Anyway, you target the the draw, and suddenly you've got a 1 to 28 risk to reward ratio. I know it looks completely unrealistic. That's the power of the confirmation entry right there, you know? You know, even if you were going off stop at a low, it's still a 1 to 18. And I know most of this is going to be taken off mid-run. You know, you're going to want to take some partials here at this high. You know, New York AM high yesterday. But, I mean, for your full runner TP, you always leave a runner, just one micro or something. You know, that would be the risk reward. And the stop loss, like a hard stop loss. So the 5 minute was 62 points, right? This is 19 points. 19 points on the confirmation entry rather than the 62. That's a 3 times smaller stop loss. And if you go realistic, you know, closure stop loss is 10 points. It's 10 points. And, you know, especially if you're reacting off the EQ, you're reacting off the IFEG that just closed. This range is balanced. You know, any discount PD arrays have been tapped. Like, this is your pristine confirmation entry, and like I say, 9 times out of 10, man. Yeah, I'm going to be honest here. I think I'm going to call it. It's slow. Really. No follow through. We're not exactly tanking down to this EQ level, and we're not giving any sensitivity to anything in this region, or showing any willingness to continue bullish. You know, just a slow climb, a slow descend down, maybe here, but in which case I don't think we're going to be able to catch a short or even want to take a short down to here, and it's going to be a bit too late by the time that we try and long off of it. So yeah, I don't think there's anything here for me now for the rest of the session, to be honest. I can kind of just, I guess. But yeah, I'm gonna call it there. So yeah, remember, only 1 day left to trade. Don't try and trade in the Christmas period. I've got a planned post on TikTok with some chart examples from price action from the previous years during Christmas. So obviously I'll do the 22nd, 23rd, 24th, and then obviously I can't do Christmas because it's bank holiday, and then maybe the day after, and maybe leading up to New Year's, but I might do that in a separate post, and maybe shortly after Christmas or something. But yeah, that's a planned post, so if you want to stick around for that, yeah, I'm going to call it there. So appreciate you guys tuning in. I'll be live tomorrow, and then I'm going to take a 2-week break. I do have planned content though, so thanks for watching, and I'll catch you tomorrow.